What if I told you that one of the most familiar birds in North America, a bird you've probably seen hopping around in your own backyard, is hiding some genuinely jaw-dropping secrets? We're talking about the American robin. You've seen this bird 1,000 times. You think you know it. But I promise you, by the end of this video, you are going to look at this bird in a completely different way. Today we're counting down 7 facts about the American robin, and we're saving the most familiar for last, because even the basic stuff about this bird is worth appreciating with fresh eyes. Let's get into it. Fact number 1. They can get drunk on berries. We're kicking things off with a fact that sounds completely made up, but is absolutely thoroughly documented, and I think it's going to set the tone perfectly for everything we're about to cover. American robins can get drunk. Here's what happens. Late in the season, when other food sources are running low, robins will turn to berries, and not just any berries. They'll eat fermented berries. Berries that have been on the vine or the branch long enough to start fermenting and producing alcohol. And when a robin gets into a large batch of those fermented berries and eats a significant quantity of them, the effects look remarkably similar to what you'd expect. We're talking robins that have lost their coordination, robins stumbling, robins that appear disoriented and have difficulty flying in a straight line. There are documented cases of robins appearing to fall over while attempting to walk normally. Now, the robin isn't doing this on purpose. It's not seeking out a good time. It's just hungry, and the fermented berries are there, and it doesn't have a way to know that they've gone off. It's essentially eating the only food available and accidentally discovering that food has become something else entirely. But can we just appreciate for a moment how extraordinary it is that the same bird that people associate with the arrival of spring, the symbol of renewal and cheerfulness, is also capable of stumbling around a yard completely intoxicated on fermented honeysuckle berries. The American robin contains multitudes. And speaking of multitudes, that charming, occasionally tipsy bird hopping around your yard, it turns out it's also carrying one of the more unsettling secrets in the story of North American wildlife, which brings us to Fact 2. Fact 2. They are a key carrier of West Nile virus. Yes, the drunk bird is also a disease vector. I'm sorry, but this is genuinely fascinating, so stay with me. The American robin, this cheerful red-breasted bird that sings outside your window in the morning, is considered one of the most significant animal reservoirs for West Nile virus in North America. Now you might be thinking, wait, isn't it crows that get West Nile? And you'd be partially right. When West Nile virus moves into an area, crows and jays are often the first birds to die, and their deaths are what alert scientists that the virus has arrived. So naturally, a lot of early attention went to those species. But here's what makes the robin so important and so significant in this equation. The robin doesn't die. The American robin contracts West Nile virus and survives it. And because the robin survives, it stays infected longer. And while it's infected, mosquitoes bite it. And those mosquitoes go on to bite other animals, including humans, and pass the virus along. So the crow gets all the attention because it's dying dramatically. But it's the humble robin, the one still singing in your yard, that scientists believe is quietly amplifying the spread of the disease through the mosquito population. Think about that the next time a robin is cheerfully pulling a worm out of your lawn. Beautiful bird. Complicated bird. Fact 3. They are expert egg forgery detectors. Fact number 3 is about one of the sneakiest rivalries in the bird world, and the robin's surprisingly sophisticated role in it. There's a bird called the brown-headed cowbird, and the cowbird has a rather ruthless reproductive strategy. Instead of building its own nest and raising its own chicks, the cowbird finds another bird's nest, wait for the right moment, slips in, lays one of its own eggs among the host bird's eggs, and leaves. The host bird then unknowingly incubates the cowbird's egg and raises the cowbird's chick, often at the expense of its own offspring, because cowbird chicks tend to be larger and more demanding. This strategy is called brood parasitism, and it works on a lot of bird species, but it does not work particularly well on the American robin. Why? Because robins are remarkably good at detecting foreign eggs. Studies have found that robins identify and reject cowbird eggs at an impressively high rate. They examine the eggs in their nest, compare them against their own, which are the famous robin's egg blue color, and when something doesn't match, they act. They either eject the suspicious egg from the nest entirely, or in some documented cases, they simply abandon the nest and start over somewhere else. Think about what this means. The robin isn't just passively sitting on whatever ends up on its nest. It is actively evaluating the eggs, making a judgment call, and responding accordingly. That's a level of cognitive sophistication that most people would never associate with a bird they see on their lawn. The cowbird has been running this con for a very long time, and the robin, over generations, has gotten very, very good at catching it. Fact number 4. Quick, picture a robin hunting for worms. It's hopping across a lawn, it stops, it tilts its head to the side, and then, bam! It drives its beak into the ground and pulls out a worm. Here's what almost everyone assumes is happening in that moment. The robin is listening. It's tilting its head to put its ear closer to the ground, detecting the sound or the vibration of the worm moving underground. It seems so logical. The head tilt, the stillness, the focused attention. It looks exactly like an animal that's listening very carefully. It is not listening. It is looking. When a robin cocks its head to the side, it is using its eye, the eye that's now facing downward, to visually scan the surface of the ground for any sign of a worm near the surface. Robins have their eyes positioned on the sides of their head, which means to look straight down, they need to tilt. They're not tracking acoustic signals from below the soil. They are visually searching the ground for movement, for the slight disturbance of the surface, for any visual cue that a worm might be just underneath. This is one of those facts that's almost frustrating in how thoroughly it dismantles an assumption. The head tilt looks so much like listening that it's practically become cultural shorthand for careful listening. And the bird that inspired that image isn't listening at all. It's watching. Fact 5. Their diet shifts throughout the day. Fact number 5 connects beautifully to fact 4, and it also gives us the answer to a question that the old saying never thought to address. We've all heard it. The early bird gets the worm. And in the case of the robin, that's actually grounded in truth. Early in the morning, when the soil is moist and the temperatures are cooler, earthworms are more likely to be close to the surface, which makes them easier to spot and capture. So robins do, genuinely, concentrate their worm hunting in the early morning hours when conditions are best. But then what? Morning passes, the soil warms up, the worms retreat deeper. So what does the robin do for the rest of the day? It switches to fruit. As the day progresses, the American robin shifts its diet away from earthworms and increasingly toward berries and other fruit. This isn't random grazing. It's a deliberate behavioral shift tied to the changing availability and accessibility of food throughout the day. The worms are easier to get in the morning, so that's when the robin hunts them. By the afternoon, the robin is essentially a different kind of forager, moving through shrubs and trees rather than across lawns. So the early bird does get the worm, but the smart bird knows that after the worm window closes, there's still a whole day of eating ahead, and it adjusts its entire hunting strategy accordingly. Fact 6. Migration. It's complicated. Now we're getting into what you might think of as the textbook facts. But I want you to hold on, because even these contain surprises. When most people think about migration, they picture a simple story. The robins fly south in the fall, winter somewhere warm, and come back north in the spring. And that story is true for some robins. But here's what's actually happening. Not all American robins migrate. The ones that do tend to be those living in Alaska and Canada, where winters are severe enough that staying simply isn't viable. Those birds make an impressive journey, heading to the southern United States, Mexico, and areas along the Gulf Coast. Some individual robins have been tracked traveling up to 3,000 miles in a single migration, and that's a remarkable distance for a bird that most people consider a backyard fixture rather than a long-haul traveler. But robins living across much of the continental United States, many of them stay. They shift their behavior, spending less time on open lawns where worm hunting is the main activity, and moving into more wooded areas where berry-producing plants can sustain them through the cold months. They may become less visible, which is part of why people associate their reappearance on lawns with the arrival of spring. The birds didn't necessarily go anywhere. They just went somewhere in your area that you weren't looking. So migration for the American robin isn't a universal switch that all robins flip at the same time. It's a spectrum, and where a robin falls on that spectrum depends heavily on where it lives. Fact 7. What they look like. And we've arrived at Fact 7, and yes, I saved the appearance for last, because at this point, after everything we've just covered, I want you to picture the American robin again with everything you now know about it. The American robin is a medium-sized bird, substantial enough to notice, but not so large as to be imposing. The male has a black head that catches the light beautifully, and a bright yellow bill that stands out sharply against it. His back is a warm, clean gray. And then there is the chest, that iconic brick red, sometimes described as a deep rusty orange, that covers the entire breast and makes the robin instantly recognizable from a distance. Females share the same general pattern, but with softer, more muted tones. The back of the head fades to a dusky gray-brown, and the colors blend together with less sharp contrast. The red-orange of the breast is there, but quieter. And the young robins, the juveniles, have something the adults don't. A spotted breast, rather than a solid one, marks a robin that hasn't yet grown into its adult plumage. It's a brief window, but a striking one, and it's easy to mistake a young robin for a completely different species if you don't know what you're looking at. So the next time you see one of these birds hopping across your lawn, tilting its head to look for a worm with one eye, about to switch to berries for the afternoon portion of its day, take a moment, because this is not a simple bird. This is a bird that can detect a forgery in its own nest, that can survive West Nile virus and spread it through an entire region, that has been known to get intoxicated on fermented berries, that travels up to 3,000 miles and back, or doesn't travel at all, depending entirely on where it was born. The American robin, you've seen it 1,000 times, but until now you've never really seen it at all. That's 7 facts about the American robin, and if even one of them made you stop and think about a bird you've walked past your whole life, then this video did exactly what it was supposed to do. For more videos like this one, where we take birds you think you know and show you what's actually going on beneath the surface, hit subscribe and stick around. There are a lot of birds out there, and every single one of them has a story worth telling. That image on your screen right now is on a mug in the store. The link's in the description below. Click it to get yours.